Alright guys, I'm going to take you through a quick breakdown of my new release called Beatnik, which is out now on MK837 Records out of Atlanta. So yeah, let's get straight in. Alright, starting with the kick. Let's see what I used. This is just a a sample, and then just cutting the high end, obviously keeping that in mono. Let's see. And then the real kind of key, I guess, processing is just using a transient shaper here to cut the high end, and then I'm using also using R bass, which adds kind of like harmonics to that kick. What I also learned, this is like I don't know if this is true, but I learned online that this actually helps the certain tones to cut through on mobile devices. So yeah, if you listen to this on your phone, then you'll hear that kick kind of come through because of those harmonics that you've kind of pushed. Okay, apart from that, just auto filters. Alright, going across the drum bus now. Let's expand this. So there's just, I like to use kind of like very analog sounding percussion, so clap, shakers. There's a few kind of like percussive sounds in here that are like effects. Actually, there's quite a few. But yeah, I'll start typically with like the clap and the shakers on top of the kick. So let's see how this sounds when it's kind of all coming in around here. And then what I'll do is I will also add, again, it's just some processing here for like dynamics and EQ. This was a plugin that was used, as it says there, it's used at Abbey Road Studios. So again, very sort of analog processing. I've also used another, like an analog reverb here, just for a bit of room reverb. Set, what's that, 30% mix, and then I'll swap that as well with this plugin for reverb as well, so and just on that preset. So let's see with the automation. So this is just starting with that regular TG 1 2 3 4 5. Then I bring in the Eventide reverb. And then let's see when the other one kicks in. Yeah, it's going to switch to the LX 480 here, reverb wise. Works. That's working really well on the shaker. Like, I really like that reverb for that. Okay, so that's really the main kind of percussive elements, and then you've got the bass. The bass sounds kind of like the main one I was trying to get, which was, let's see, it was on Serum. It's a Serum preset, but then I tweaked this, so you can see the patch here, which was from a pack, but yeah, I like to use a lot of like not just Serum. I use a lot of synths, analog and digital, but like VSTs and analog hardware. But if it's a preset, I'll typically try and tweak that as much as I can to kind of like at least, not just use the exact same preset as what's been given, but I'll take all these parameters and just play with it till it kind of fits my sound. So anyway, that was the patch, and let's see, this is the sub sound. Cut all the high end down to what, 240 hertz, and then used some saturation and compression. So use that plugin. Then you got harmonics here. Is the H949. So that's adding harmonics, it's a harmonizer, and then just saturation. I think this is going to be, is this soft tubes? Let's see. Yeah, so just soft tube saturation, specifically low end saturation, yeah, and then just an LFO at the end to just give it that kind of side chainy pulsing or pumping sound, should I say. But then later on, what I've done here on the bass is I've brought in a second, actually no, I've it's the same patch, but then I've just processed it slightly differently, so with a different LFO, so you get kind of like it's just adding harmonics, adding different layers to kind of make that bass sound like really come through and throb. And it sounds, you know, on its own, it's kind of like, it sounds alright, but when you bring it all together, especially this section with the kick and percussion, and is there any synths? No synths yet. So, what are we, like 30 seconds in? It's just like introducing. I like to start and layer tracks and layer sounds in, so it's not just like one big drop. You know, it's almost like you're bringing in one sound maybe for like 8 bars, 8 to 16 bars, but I like 8, and then you'll bring another sound after another 8, and so on. So you're just gradually layering it up, and then you can have a breakdown and you can cut everything, strip it back, and then reintroduce those sounds in a different order, which kind of like, you know, is quite nice on the ear, if you like. So really there, it's just on the bass bus, it's just, again, a bit of EQing, just a few cuts here. I've probably played the bass here with the kick drum, so I'm just cutting certain frequencies that are causing it to be like either muddy or it's clashing with the kick, which you don't want. And you can use a sidechain to do that, but sometimes instead of just cutting the whole of the sound, it's like I want to cut certain frequencies, so it retains, you know, as much of the bass patch as possible. And then I've just used the limiter here again just to bring that through, because that's the big, let's say, big part of the song, isn't it, of Beatnik, is the bass sound coming through. It's like I love kicks and synths, and then they don't clash, but if there's a really good bass sound that I want that to kind of come through, and it's got that sort of tech house dance floor sort of feel, then I'm going to limit this and push this through. That's actually boosted by nearly 7 dB, so there's not a lot happening there on the limiter. Just occasionally, probably later on when there's more, but yeah, it's just literally kind of boosting that a little bit, and then later on the limiters are going to kind of kick in, but it just kind of makes it sit better against with the kick, should I say. All right, then you've got all the synth sounds starting to come through here, about almost the minute mark. So let's see. Yeah, so there's a few. All right, so the synth patches, let's see, I'll open, I should be expanding these, sorry. See there, you can see kind of like the patches that I've got. First one is this. So with those we've got, the first one was actually a mallet, which is kind of funny. Because why is that in synths rather than percussion? Trying to open contact. Here we go. So yeah, so this was the sound. Let me solo it. Okay, so yeah, it's a mallet plugin. It's a glockenspiel. With a reverse effect and a long decay and long attack. And what else have I done? I've kind of like smoothed it out a little bit here with Soothe. So that's going to cut these harsh frequencies. And Crystallizer, which is Sound Toys, that's coming in probably later on. Oh yeah, just a little bit here. Let's see how that comes in. Oh, cool. It's funny because I don't do it. This is like my first. I mean, I've done live streams, but I've not done it. This is like first breakdown video. And what's kind of cool is I'm thinking I'm going to go through this. It's going to be boring for me and for you, but it's cool because that little thing there, little sort of just to break the monotony, let's say. Is using that crystallizer plugin. So I don't even remember using that, and it's very subtle in the track. So all together with the other synth. Cuts. Yeah, that's nice actually. So little kind of like effects, crystal effects. What was the one? Accordion crystals was the patch on the Sound Toys crystallizer. So, and then the other sound there is the keys. So this one is like my favorite. And someone on in a DJ pool said this sounded a bit like Star Trek. And I'm not a Star Trek fan. If it's Star Wars, I'd be in. But not a big Star Trek fan, so that was, is that a compliment? Maybe, I don't know. Not to me. But this is the sound. There it is. It's like so simple. In fact, if you even go into piano roll, let's see. It's like 3 notes and then 4 notes actually, but it's like, it's just like a little accent, but it works so well on the track. Because it's quite heavy, it's quite punchy, and the bass, bass slaps a bit. But this is kind of the whole high contrast thing as well. But it's that power and then the emotion that comes in when there isn't a kick or a bass to like smack you in the face. So this is that little sort of, I don't know what you call it, like reflective, introspective sort of sound that counters the chaos. And then really long tail there. What's that? Oh yeah, there you go. So I'm using Black Hole's Dark Matter. I probably tweaked it a little bit, but it's called Dark Matter, the preset. And I actually love this one. I've used this on a bunch of tracks, but just that specific preset on that specific plugin. I guess, that's part of, creating your own sound maybe. Is just, you find something that you really like a sound you like or a preset you like, and sometimes you don't have to do anything with it, but it fits your sound or it makes your sound and enhances it and just glues everything together. So in this case, this Dark Matter preset is just that. So boom. And then moving down, there's the effects bus with a few effects. I mean, this is pretty slim actually. which I like. You know, I don't like too many tracks or too many sounds in it. I'm processing everything so that you hear everything. It all fits from a frequency standpoint. There's not too much clashing, and it's just, yeah, there's a lot. I'll focus like one kick and then just loads of percussion layered, but it all fits. And then you've got a bit of reverb on that, so it kind of like makes it sound kind of live-ish. Bass, you've got what, 2 subs and 2 basses, and then synths, 1, 2, and then brass. We'll go through those in a minute, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a bit of effects. And what's that? 36. So 36 tracks. So, you know, not too many. I know some producers go nuts and have hundreds of tracks and like 50 buses or something and 30 sub buses. Not me. It's pretty much, you've got the, really simple kind of rack. This is normally a rack, but I'd go with this clap, for example. I'd just go mono and then, you know, cut below 120 and cut sort of around the sort of 3K range, and I'll do that for each one and just tweak each thing, and then I'll put them through the bus using like this preset's good: drum bus, mode control, magic on Fab Filters Pro Q3. Again, bit of processing. I like this preset drum loop 2 on Abbey Road's TG12, imaginatively titled TG12345. Reverb, bit of soothing harsh frequencies using Soothe 2, and then that's it. And then it's just that's the bus, and then I'll group all those. So I have the low end, obviously typically kicking bass will come through on the low end here. Let's go down to the low end. I'll just group these. Wait a sec. Here we go. Let's start here. So yeah, it's just literally, again, this is an Ableton preset and plugin called Mastering Catch Peaks. Actually, it's by Cytomic. So again, I'm trying to get about 4 to 5, max 5, like dB cut there, and then a little bit of makeup. So like the 4 or 5 reduction or like compression, it's like glue compressor, and then you've got the makeup one. So I'm kind of putting a little bit but back in, so I'm not losing too much. And then similar thing with the Premaster, glue compressor there. So that's got the low end coming through with everything else. So like FX, synth, they'll all go into Premaster. And then that's all glued together here with about 2 to 3 dB of reduction. And then that is all blended into a chain on the mix bus, which can get quite long. But I'll typically do the Pro C2 just... Not too much happening here, but threshold at about -18, -15 normally. And then EQ, again, a preset mix, general bounce, general purpose bouncing 2. And then I'll put it through Brainworks' Loop Trotter. This I really like. It just gives it a bit of color. And there is where is it? It's called there's mix and then there's magic. And I just like the dry, well, it's kind of like saturation, but just a bit of coloring, I guess you call it. Then once I've used that, I'll use Expander, which is a free plugin for, I don't know who made this, but I use this on every track on the mix bus. Typically won't do the widening or the expanding, let's say. I'll use it, sometimes I'll use this on an individual track to create, it's like a detuned flangey sort of effect. But for the mix bus, I'll just focus on the low end and high end, and then bring in a bit of color and keep the expander at 50. And that just seems to, there's a lot of people who go crazy on compressing, but with electronic music, a lot of the samples have already been compressed, right? So why would you compress them further? It doesn't make any sense. But a lot of channels on YouTube will tell you to do that because they're trying to sell you plugins. So with this, it's like I like to compress it a little bit. On the individual tracks, maybe more so, but there's very light compression on the mix bus here, and then it's like once I've processed it, expand it. I want to expand it, not compress it, because I really want the sound to kind of hit you and not be tamed too much. Then I'll go through Ozone. Typically do the chain, some like I'll sort of like do the read, and then it will give me suggested settings. I'll then tweak all these, especially with Imager. I like to do the stereoize, make sure that's turned on. It's giving me the heart shape again. It's funny. And then this clarity. This is a fairly new one on what am I on 11? Actually, I've got 12. So this is like I did this track a while back before I got 12. So anyway, Ozone 12 is cool as well. But this clarity, I really like clarity. If it does the suggested settings for the track, which is essentially AI, I guess, it'll typically kick out like 20. It'll sort of go quite low, and I like to boost that to about 50, sometimes 70 to get just to get more clarity. In certain certain frequencies or bands. So I like clarity. Stabilizer, I don't really know what that does actually. That's always in there, but it's one of those that's sort of just always on without me necessarily knowing what the fuck it does. Anyway, then you got the dynamic EQ. That's the you're cutting certain harsh frequencies. That's, again, it'll suggest them, and then you go in and tweak them, and then maximizer I'll keep off, because I will keep this. So that what I want to do is get it to about -5 dB before mastering. So typically this will not be on. Ignore this. This is just literally for this breakdown and live stream, because I'm typically going to be, well, I'll show you what I do is I take that off, hit play. So that's in the red. You can see it over here in the master fader. So that's peaking there, and then I'll bring that down using a utility. Here it's -11, but I want to set that. I want that peaking naturally, no clipping or limiting. I want it naturally, again for like dynamic range, I guess, but around about -5 dB. So that's currently at -8 for some reason, and I'm wondering if I've just tweaked a few things. Did I take off core presser? Anyway, it was around -5 when I mixed it and then bounced it to audio to then send that to the master project as a separate project. So, but yeah, for this, I'm boosting this using core presser, which I really like. I might try and start using this just for like stripped down mixes and just, I like it. So it's kind of like it's a maximizer, isn't it? So here it's like this preset Lanus was 2008, which I think is a great preset name, because that is what most producers are trying to do. They're trying to make their song as loud as possible, without caring about the sound at the end of it. But yeah, this seems to work, and you can always take the mix down. So when you play it, you can always adjust this. It's 100% now. You can take that down to like 50 and still get good results. And then you might need to boost it a little bit more after that or limit it. But I for this stream and for kind of like quick mixes, I'll use, or to get a feel for what it's going to sound like at the end when I'm at the beginning, if that makes sense. Paradoxical maybe, but yeah, I'm starting a project. I want to know how it sounds at the end without it being at the end and having done all this stuff, and I'll just use this will be give me a good idea of what's going to come at the end. But for the stream it's good because it just boosts it back up to like 0 where it should be for the stream. So yeah, this is a little bit out of order, but done the bass. Did we do the synths? Let's check on this synth. Let's check in on this little synth. So synth 1 is here. So yeah, just kind of like again, it's like it says it's a lead sound here, which I think is from Seven Skies. He's a great producer and a good sound designer, so he has a lot of really good stuff on really good presets for Serum. So again, I use a lot of his as a kind of foundation and then tweak them. So yeah, this patch here is a lead patch, but again, it's just anything with like that gives it movement, you know what I mean? Like, of course you go to the piano roll here, you probably see it's, yeah, so okay, the notes are like giving it movement to a certain degree, but the settings here on Serum, again, on like the cutoff and things like that, I've automated. It's just giving that movement there, and then later on, when you combine that with the second synth, again, really good. That's Seven Skies again, you see, so I'm using his presets to get that movement. And then we got a third one. Is the brass sound by Seven Skies. But I'm processing it with Unfiltered Audio's Tails, which is a favorite plugin that I use on a lot of tracks, because you as the name suggests, you're getting some great reverb tails. You can also do kind of like cuts, almost like side chain pumps on that with the reverb tail, so you can hear that. And then I'm cutting after 5K because I don't want that reverb to kind of fill too much of the high end or cause like I don't know, harsh frequencies to kind of like build up and have to cut them in the end. So I'll just cut them around 5. Sometimes I'll cut before 3 for that reason. And then there's the brass, and then wait, hold on. Oh yeah, that's the second synth, and then you got the mallet, then you got the keys. So yeah, it's like we've touched on the whole track, all the tracks. The only other thing that's kind of weird here is I see synth lead. I think I just cut this. Yeah, I think I just cut it from the whole track. Yeah, I guess I didn't use it because I don't see it appearing. No. Okay. And then with the effects, it's like really simple little thing here. Like, I love noise and rises, but let's just look at this one, this track. What I'll do is I will have the riser coming in, or the noise coming in. I've got an LFO here, so you get the pump. Is that coming straight on? No. Is that not on? Oh, okay. I'll show you in a second how to use that. So noise comes in. I had the automation a second ago. Where is the automation? Show all parameters. Utility. Okay, yeah. So as I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it. Starts on 0 dB, goes up to 6 dB. So again, you're getting that volume automation and intensity coming up to like a drop or a breakdown. But then what I like to do sometimes is just cut it. So hear this. So it just stops like abruptly, and sometimes that doesn't work, but listen to how it fits into the track. So just that hard cut suddenly gives way. It's sort of like, it builds it up, and then it's like you've got the kick and the bass come in. So it's almost like you've got the high end and then replaced kind of like quickly with the low end. So I like that, again, that high contrast feel. It's just build, 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 and then drop, cut it. And then what I do later on, let's see, because I use the LFO later, so show automation. Okay, so here, let's see the difference here. Oh, wait. Yeah, so there's no hard cut here because there's no kick and bass coming in. It's just the Star Trek sounding synth, whatever it is, or the mallet. Glockenspiel, that's it. Got there in the end. But notice here, yeah, no hard cut. It's complete opposite. So there's no LFO going into it with that noise ramp, volume ramp. But when it gets to the end of that sound, I'll bring in the echo, which is Ableton's plugin, and with the LFO, so it kind of like it keeps going through. It doesn't cut straight out, but it blends with that glockenspiel sound to kind of give it this sort of ethereal feel with the noise. And then I use FabFilters 1. Oh yeah, I love this. So FabFilters 1, Storm preset. Boris Brejcha uses this a lot, and the only thing I don't like about it, it's kind of a big thing, when when you're programming for like crazy amounts of hours. Let's say you do a 12-hour session. I don't recommend doing that in one go, but demo style, long programming sessions. But this, as far as, and again, if you guys know this, please drop this in the comments because it helped me out. But most of these kind of plugins will have like a little setting, and you can just boost the size of essentially just boost the whole thing. Or at the bottom right, you can only just drag it. But for some weird reason, you can't do that with this. And I love the plugin, but it does my head in and gives me massive headaches and eye strain and all that stuff because I'm trying to change all the parameters to tweak the patch, and it's just after a while it just does my head in. So yeah, if anyone knows how to increase the size of that plugin or the font size, let me know, because help just goes to like online stuff. It doesn't have that. Help is no help. This should just say no help. So anyway, that's the patch. So let's hear it in the mix. And it just keeps going, like for a long time. Actually, that whole bar, isn't it, or 4 bars? Let's hear how long it. Oh wait, from the beginning. Like all the way through, then I just turn it off when the kick and bass come back in. So you're getting those kind of like very defined sections of like, say, effects or reverb, and then kick and bass kind of coming in. So yeah, I want them to be very kind of like, I want it to be one song obviously and coherent, but I want there to be a contrast in the sections so that it's almost like the I guess it's a little bit like push and pull. Is it push and pull sounds where you get, well you get that as well, but like call and response, that's what I meant. So like there's one line by one instrument and then another by another, and it's call and response. So it's like they're talking to each other. So it's sort of like that with how I'm trying to design the track. And then really the only other thing in the track is as it gets towards the end, there's like a big crescendo. So just here. So again, cutting the kick and bass for a bit. They'll come in a second. I'll just kick. Yeah, so that synth now is more intense, like the notes are closer together timing wise, and then again using this EDM Festival Big preset just to really let that synth just it's like soaking the track. Funnily enough, with no LFO, I normally put an LFO on that, but I just didn't because. Yeah, I didn't put an LFO on that one because I wanted it to like fill the track. Fill the like bass and kick have had their moments, let's say, but in this section, yeah, I really wanted that to kind of like just bathe it in reverb. And then it comes out. That's it really, that's the track. It's pretty simple, but again, what I wanted at the very, very end is I wanted the kick and the bass, sorry, just the bass sub, and then just when you think like, all right, bring in the next track, I wanted to kind of have this little, I wanted that as the end. Because again, it's like, it starts pretty heavy and it's got those, yeah, heavy moments, but I wanted that emotional sort of soft kind of soft end to kind of like, yeah, end the track basically, yeah. And then just keep going. So the bass cuts, but that just keeps going. So yeah, and I think that's it. I've gone through, yeah, so the low end pre-mastered and the mix bus, done all that. Reverb, delay, I just don't really touch that. And then master is like, that's just automating the volume, typically just for the very, very end. So it's literally, why don't I see it? Weird. Oh, because it wasn't showing the automation. There it is. So yeah, it's just like the very, very end. It's like roughly half a second after. I'll just automate the volume down so it goes to silence. And then obviously restream is for recording the Ableton stream. Let's look at the riser just really quickly, see if there's anything of interest for you guys. Cymatic sample. Cut low, cut up to 4K. Yeah, so I like to do this, like cut all the low end and cut high, like right up to like 4K. So it's only the high frequencies, and then you bring in an LFO, then this ping pong delay. So that's an Ableton plugin as well. And then that's set at 40%. I didn't want that to go crazy. The feedback's high, so that keeps going, but again, I didn't want it to just flood. So I want it to die out. So 40% gave me that feel where it just drifts into this breakdown. And then you've got two pads. Let me split the pads because these are good. These should actually not be in FX. I should have put these in with the synths, but you know, there you go. And this was, see, black hole reverb again. And then let's see if Contact takes forever to open, but luckily it just opened quickly there. So this is called C Nightshade. So it's like a Contact plugin. So that's good for like film scores. It's really like horror scores actually, but I find that if you, this is what I like, I actually really like Native Instruments for that, is you can get, you know, very specific, I would say, like sound design or plugins meant for like orchestral stuff or film stuff, whatever. I love movies. Like that's why I started LUCKYKAT Kino, because I wanted to celebrate the best movies that you've never really seen, and with like the best music you've never heard. So like fuse those two things. So instead of just doing what some people do, which is just like a very vague mix with no dialogue inspired by a movie, which is just crap. Too many of them. But yeah, this is like more of a movie sort of thing. So it's like I've taken it sort of out of context. I'm not using it for a film score, but this fits my track. So that was that one. And then let's have a look at the other pad. Let's see what this one is. I'm wondering if it's the same one. It's a different preset, but the same plugin. It's called Shimmering. So again, really cool, haunting sort of sounds. And you put the two together. Got two different octaves here. So one's just sitting in there. It's like it's sort of like chilling, but it's got that sort of dark undertone, which I like. All right. Hope that was helpful. Let's see. Is there anything else I've missed? I don't think so. Gone through them all. Percussion. Were you the bus for the percussion? I think so, yeah. And I'm trying to think if there's anything. Let's look at perc effects briefly, just to see. Just loads of like one shots, but just fusing them all together. So I love percussive elements like this, which it's like ear candy, but it just makes, it's just interesting, because you wouldn't necessarily be able to have this on a traditional drum kit. So you've got like I'll use analog drum elements for sure. Like these three are very analog, or four. That's pretty analog, but then you bring in the effects. It just gives it that kind of like, I don't know, otherworldly, futuristic sort of sound. So it's like, but best of analog with the best of digital, fusing them together to make something sort of new. Yeah, I really like making beats and percussion sounds, percussive sounds, to really drive the track. So look out for more stuff like this with future releases. Hope that was useful, guys. Thanks. Oh, hold on. Thanks for tuning in today. Hope that was useful. See you in the next one. Oh, let me know in the comments if this was like useful, and if it was any good and help you guys, and what kind of things you would like to see in the future as well from the channel. All right, see you. Bye.